All right, what's up, y'all? We are back live. I am going to start off with checking out what's going on with Elon, what's going on with Doge, what's going on with a bunch of stuff. The Pope passed away. Looking at who's going to be replacing him. It's all kinds of shit going on in the world. The markets were up today. I got out of a lot of positions that were red for weeks, and I'm like, you know what? Let me get out. Let me because I was pretty much break even. So I got out of some positions. I expect it to drop again, and I think tomorrow it's going to drop again. Just from hearing some of the news that I heard from Trump, you know, he had an interview today, or he had a press conference today, and it wasn't as good news as we thought. So we'll probably check some of that out as well. But let's start off with what's going on with Tesla, because damn, I ain't never seen this type of drop off before. This is, you know, he's putting America first in his eyes, but what's going on with Tesla, I ain't never seen nothing like this.
Tesla profits plunging tonight. Elon Musk just reporting a 71% plunge in profits, 71%, as he rails against Trump's tariffs. In a call going on right now, you will hear him in his own words in a call that Outfront has just obtained. Also breaking new details on Pete Hegseth's, what he's thinking, his strategy, what he's doing. As chaos is erupting inside the Pentagon that he is leading. One person telling CNN he's in full paranoia.
That's not what I'm trying to hear.
And Trump's baby bonus.
Some challenges, and I expect that this year will be, there'll probably be some unexpected bumps this year.
This earnings call that's going on right now from Tesla. There will be more bumps, he says, because even though Musk tonight said he is keeping his word and stopping his full-time work for Trump and Doge next month, which he is required to do with his role as a special government employee, right? So that's what he's already said he was going to do. The truth is, the headline may not be that he's stepping aside as he was saying he was due. It's actually that he is not going anywhere.
I'll continue to spend, a day or two per week on government matters for as long as the president would like me to do so.
A day or two a week. I mean, 2 days a week out of 5. I mean, you get it, right? That's 40%. That's a lot of time. I mean, that would mean for roughly the next 3.5 years, if Trump wants him around, Elon Musk is going to be in the Oval Office with Trump a couple days a week. Now, that's obviously significant. And Elon is speaking on this Tesla call, spoke for a majority of the call, in fact, which began about 90 minutes ago. And just to be very clear, Elon Musk being on the call and talking for as long as he has, right? So we're now talking 90 minutes or so this has been going on, is not a business as usual thing. He does not usually get on this call and talk. In fact, in 2021, he said this.
I think going forward, I will most likely not be on earnings calls unless there's something really important that I need to say.
Well, there is something really important that he...
Yeah, I don't understand why he needs to be in the Oval Office so often. But it's above my pay grade, and yours too.
Needs to say right now. Musk's image as the world's wealthiest man has taken an unprecedented hit in an unprecedentedly short period of time. From his controversial behavior at Trump events like Inauguration Day to revelations that he has a lot more children than his known 13 that did not come from some sort of a tabloid. It came from the Wall Street Journal. And beyond his reputation and image, Musk has lost more than $130 billion since Election Day because of the damage he has done to Tesla's brand by tying himself so directly to Trump and by Doge. And many investors on that Tesla earning call have lost a lot of money because of Musk this year. Tesla shares have been cut almost in half, in fact, since Election Day, when you look at the highs then, which may be why Musk did something really important on this call. When he talks about something important to say, perhaps nothing more important than this, keeping up his fight against Trump's tariffs.
Tariffs will, tough on a company when margins are still low. I just want to emphasize that the tariff decision is entirely up to the President of the United States. I will weigh in with my advice with the President, which he will listen to my advice, but then it's up to him, of course, to make his decision. I've been on the record many times as saying that I believe lower tariffs are generally a good idea for prosperity. But this decision is fundamentally up to the elected representative of the people, being the President of the United States. So I'll continue to advocate for lower tariffs rather than higher tariffs, but that's all I can do.
I mean, that's clear and it's measured. It's a lot more calm than calling Peter Navarro dumber than a bag of bricks, which is what he called him on his social media platform recently on the tariff issue. And I want to go now to Dan Ives, Peter Tuchman, and Alexis Glick, all back with me. So, Dan, you were able to hear that call. Elon doesn't usually get on that call. That's the whole point. And he's on, and he's being very, very calm in what he's saying.
CNN is so
but obviously
biased.
profits plunging 71%. And there's a reason.
They be
for
trying
that,
to deny it.
right? And that reason is him and Trump and Doge.
I mean, this was a moment of truth for Musk, because on this call, and I think he did a great setup, I mean, this was really, investors are massively frustrated. In our opinion, it was a fork in the road. He basically had to recommit to Tesla and sort of take a huge step back from Doge. And that was something that he did. And I ultimately believe.
So they're down 71% in profits. And then the stock is actually up 5% for the day, but for the year to date, down 33. It was almost down 40% until today. Today, the last couple of days have definitely made things a little bit better, but yeah, look at it. Look at its highs at $410 a share. Sheesh. It's crazy. I ain't gonna lie, some long-term call options. Maybe now is not the time, but I'm definitely gonna be looking at a place to enter here. So he also spoke on Doge, and apparently he ain't gonna stick around much longer. So let's check that out.
Starting probably in next month, in May, my time allocation to Doge will drop significantly. I'll have to continue doing it for, I think, probably the remainder of the president's term, just to make sure that the waste and fraud that we stop does not come roaring back. But starting next month, I'll be allocating far more of my time to Tesla. And now that the major work of establishing the Department of Government Efficiency is done.
Elon Musk shifting gears, saying that it is time to take a step back from Doge and focus more on Tesla, admitting that, quote, political sentiment may be hurting the company. Tesla stock still down about 40% since the beginning of the year.
He didn't word it like that's why he's going back to Tesla, although this is a bad look. 37.5% down. Obviously today was a good day, but still down 33%. Nonetheless, I do believe that a lot of the heavy lifting of Doge is probably already done. He built the team to do it, and he was probably the brains, the strategist behind it. But the people actually doing the work are already doing the work. He probably needs to, once a week have a 30-minute meeting to maintain it, to be honest. And so I do believe that he's probably done with a lot of the heavy lifting, and he can focus on Tesla again. He needs to. He really, really needs to, because Tesla's such a big chunk of a lot of people's portfolios. And I'm not talking about wealthy people. I'm talking about people who are trying to retire. They gotta be shitting themselves, man. Like, there's people who probably want to retire in the next, they probably shouldn't have been in a Tesla, but Tesla's part of most of the indexes. So
Europe,
it's a big piece of those indexes, right?
Including today's rally. And frankly, he's got his work cut out for him. Tesla reported a 71% drop in net income in the first quarter year over year. Automotive revenue slid to less than $14 billion in the first quarter, a 20% decline year over year. So, Heather, curious your thoughts on Tesla. To me, we were talking about this all week. Analysts wanted to see if Elon Musk would pivot back to doing, instead of 110% Doge, a little bit less and a little bit more on Tesla all week. Heather, here's a 20% decline year over year. So instead of 110% Doge,
And
a little
tariffs
bit
aren't gonna
less
make that
and a
better.
little bit more on Tesla. Is that sort of what you wanted and what you got out of it?
Yeah, I think if you're a Tesla investor, you really did want to hear that. And to Elon Musk's point, he says we have been somewhat insulated from these tariffs in terms of the cars we sell in the U.S. are made in the U.S. manufactured plants. But at the same time, he's distanced himself from the issue because he does know the impact on the auto sector as a whole. It's evident here. But I think it's more than just his cars. I think it's his time, obviously, has been taken away from the genius he's put into Tesla and SpaceX. And it's a big initiative that he's taken on as part of Doge to rein in wasteful government spending and abuse. But at the end of the day, he's had to take a step back. His investors have demanded, hey, we need you over here. Without you, these companies may fail. And we support what you're doing, but you've got to come back to us. And it's also a shame. This is also because of the liberal media and the pressure they put, like for people to go out and destroy private property, keying his cars, and basically threatened future Tesla owners from buying those cars. That's a shame.
Jackie, the good news that I got out of this is this was a quote. Tesla is not immune to the sort of macro demand for cars. So, you know, when there's economic uncertainty, generally people want to pause on buying, like doing a major capital purchase like a car. But absent macro issues, we don't see a reduction in demand. That actually flies in the face of some of the comments that we've gotten about people burning the Tesla, selling the Teslas, never going there. So that actually seemed to me more positive than I thought.
Yeah, I mean, the people who have them do love them. And, you know, I think we were talking about yesterday this notion that I was saying maybe he shouldn't make the Doge back away announcement on the call, but the way he framed it was also not just to reassure investors, but also the employees. We've talked about morale at the company through this kind of tumultuous time. And so I guess it was appropriate, and they wanted to know that he's coming back and he's going to be advising. It's nice to hear that demand isn't down. The stock is definitely up on all this news. But, you know, the future of Tesla is still how should I say it? In question, uncertain. You know, I want to hear more about what they're working on, what the next levels and next phases are, and some of that innovation, because that's what Elon Musk is so, amazing at and so brilliant about. And if I can just pivot to Doge for 1 second, because that is what, sucked a bit of his time away. The $160 billion isn't what he promised. It's not. I concede that. But at the same time, it's not chump change. Yeah. $160 billion a year. If we could save that, if they can get that figure a little higher, if we can get that into the bill, I think they made tremendous progress here. And even just having the conversation, because everybody got so accustomed to being okay with all the waste and fraud. Like, well, that's just part of the system and that's what happens. It doesn't have to. So I think he did a really great job with that. I'm all on board for Elon.
You know, Brian, to talk about some of the other ambitions, they reconfirmed they're going to get.
So just to be clear, I guess Elon was quoted saying he projected that he would save taxpayers up to $2 trillion by the end of July 2026. Where right now he's at about 160 billion, which is 10%, less than 10% of what he said he would do. And they're saying an independent analysis, a lot of people are saying the figure is closer to 100. So, man, the media are going to have a field day with this. I mean, it's still a lot of money that was being wasted. It was a lot of money being wasted, but, bro, the amount of money he's losing from Tesla, and, yeah, this is tough. Elon. But listen, I still, regardless if you like him or not, he's got balls, man. He's got balls. To some of the stuff that he does makes no sense. If he just mind his business, he'd probably be worth $1 trillion already. So I mean, it's tough, man. It's tough. Damn, I just noticed that this ain't working. Oh, yeah, it is working. What up, EX? EBA? E-Blends? What up? What up? All right, well, what I'm hoping for, what I'm praying for is, see Tesla start to turn it around. We'll see what kind of news we get. Yeah, I mean, they got to be heated. But at the same time, if you're a Tesla investor, you've always seen volatility, crazy volatility. And you up like crazy. Because if you look at, when I wanted to buy Tesla in the beginning, it was 2013, I think, 2012, 2013. Let's look at that real quick. 2012, 2013. Look at the price of the stock, man. Look at this. I think when I was trying to buy it, it was like look at this, bro. All this time I was looking at Tesla. I wanted to buy Tesla all this time. And don't get me wrong, I made money off Tesla, but I ain't start buying Tesla till probably around here-ish. Nah, hell no. I was buying here, but I wasn't putting a lot of money in. I think I started buying at like $55 a share. I think it was about right here. Nah, hell no. I was buying before the pandemic. I don't know. But check this out, guys. So people made a shit ton of money. It's just people who started buying in these areas. It's not bad though. I mean, it's a great time probably to buy it long term. I don't think Tesla's going anywhere. So I'm definitely going to be looking to make some money off some calls here soon. Not soon, but we're going to keep watching because damn. All right, next topic is the Shannon Sharp thing. Look, man, we was talking about what makes a good man and marriage and not worshiping lust and following, God's words when it comes to being a man, because it'll lead you the right direction. All this other stuff will lead you, the devil will lead you the wrong place, man. You'll be on top of the world and everything could be taken from you. So Shannon Sharp is about to sign a $100 million deal. Even though I do not believe the allegations, even though this is a civil suit and it's not a criminal suit, right? It's not a dude's not being charged for anything. It's a civil suit. And the attorney that she's hired is known for going after black athletes and celebrities and pretty much taking their head off. This ain't the group of people you want to be mentioned around, the Diddy's, the Jay-Z's, you know what I'm saying? Like, when I tell you they've come out with so much stuff since that, and Cameron, he reacted to it, and I thought his reaction was hilarious. But like, just listen to, you know what? I wanted to watch actually what Stephen A had to say about it. I don't want to watch all of this, but let's see what Stephen A has to say about it.
It's happening each and every day. The Stephen A. Smith Show wants to make sure you are taking advantage of it all. That's why we've partnered with Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching sports. The app is really easy to use. To make a lineup, all you have to do is pick more or less on a few player stats. Choose from any of your favorite players, Luka Doncic, Jimmy Butler, and Zach LaVine, all in the same entry. Then sit back and watch. The list is absolute. This edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show coming at you over the digital airways of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. As always, thanking all of y'all for your support for watching the show and what have you. The millions
People
of
still use
downloads I
iHeart?
received over iHeartRadio. Subscribers now eclipsing 1.18 million. Thank you so much for the love and support. Today's a different day because of where I have to get started and where I have to finish. There's only going to be one subject discussed today, and it's where we're getting started. It's involving some news that broke yesterday involving Shannon Sharp, my colleague at ESPN, and my friend. The Hall of Fame tight end was sued on Sunday by a woman proceeding under the name Jane Doe pseudonym. The 13-page civil complaint filed in Nevada alleges that Sharp committed assault, sexual assault, battery, and sexual battery. The plaintiff alleges Sharp sexually assaulted her several times at the end of 2024 and the beginning of 2025. The suit also alleges that Shannon engaged in the intentional infliction of emotional distress. It should be noted that the suit was filed by attorney Tony Busby. This is the same attorney that filed a suit against Jay-Z and P. Diddy, alleging they both sexually assaulted a minor, which has since been withdrawn. Jay-Z also has countersued Busby. By the way, the plaintiff in the Sharp civil suit is not the woman heard in the accidental Instagram live stream incident that made headlines last September of last year. In response to the suit, Shannon and his legal team went to social media yesterday and released a series of allegedly sexually explicit text messages between him and the Jane Doe. In addition to that, they issued the following statement, quote, "This lawsuit, filed by Gabriella Zuniga and orchestrated by her attorney, Tony Busby, is a blatant and cynical attempt to shake down Mr. Sharp for millions of dollars. It is filled with lies, distortions, and misrepresentations, and it will not succeed," end quote. Then earlier today, Jane Doe's attorney, Tony Busby, sent TMZ Sports a 1 minute and 36-second clip of an alleged conversation between his client and Shannon. In response to that clip, Shannon Sharp went back to social media and issued this response. Take a look.
To my family, friends, supporters, and colleagues, I want to speak to you directly and from the heart. This is a shakedown. I'm going to be open, transparent, and defend myself because this isn't right. This is all being orchestrated by Tony Busby, who has targeted Jay-Z. Tony Busby targets black men, and I believe he's going to release a 30-second clip of a sex tape that tries to make me look guilty and play into every stereotype you could possibly imagine. That video should actually be 10 minutes or so. Hey, Tony, instead of releasing your edit, put the whole video out. I don't have it, or I would myself. You know what happened, and you're trying to manipulate the media. The encounter in question took place during the day at her invitation, and now that appears to be a deliberate setup, coordinated by Gabby, also known as Carly, on OnlyFans. Gabby and Tony Busby want $50 million. What they're getting is sued for defamation and trying to take me down. My career is all about real talk and honesty. I know my family and fans know exactly what this is about. And I'm going to be out there telling you whatever I need to say, just like I always do. I love all you guys. Thanks.
Well, it's a sad situation. Shannon Sharp is somebody I work with a couple of days a week. Shannon Sharp is somebody that I brought to ESPN. Works on First Take, which airs on ESPN every weekday morning from 10 a.m. to 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. He's been with me every Monday and Tuesday. We've been number one for 13 years and counting. But since Shannon has arrived, obviously he's helped the show immensely. And I can't thank him enough for it. We've grown close as friends. I'd like to believe that. I certainly root for him. I know he's been through a lot in life. He's overcome a lot of things. And when he departed from Fox, I was more than happy to bring him on board here. So all I can speak about is what I know based on the reports. And I can speak about ESPN and Disney. To be clear, even though this podcast, this YouTube show is owned and operated by me solely, it doesn't mean that I'm going to be dismissive of ESPN, who employs me in my daytime job on First Take. So I sit here before you today letting you know that they are aware that this is a subject that I was going to broach, because I owe them that courtesy. With that being said, it's important to point out a couple of things. Number one, I was not there. I can provide no eyewitness account. And even though I got love and respect for Shannon Sharpe, and I'm sincerely hopeful and prayerful that he is completely innocent of the allegations that have been levied against him, I can't sit here and speak to his innocence or guilt from a knowledgeable place because I have nothing to do with this. I haven't seen anything. I don't know anything. I don't even know this person.
All right, so this is a nothing burger, is what you're telling me. Let's listen to camera.
I was selling crack on a private jet up in the hell and back, but no confusion. This a reunion.
He is being accused of sexual assault in a new lawsuit for allegedly dating a 19-year-old OnlyFans model who's now suing him for $50 million. The woman has since released an alleged audio conversation of the two where he said, "I'll choke the shit out of you." So in return, Shannon Sharpe responded with the text messages where him and the girl were talking, and she said some things like, I don't want anybody to cut this with me saying this, but she said, "I know you miss this ass, $25K for each cheek, want you to put a big black baby in me," and a whole bunch of other things to him. He also then responded.
It's what happens when you worship lust, bro. This is a 19-year-old. This man is 56 years old. Chasing a 19-year-old OnlyFans chick, text messaging this shit that could easily be screenshotted and used against you. Bro, what kind of a dummy is Shannon Sharpe? To me, he's obviously getting played. He's obviously, they're coming after his pockets. And this was obviously consensual. But he's still going to be affected because this is going to affect his negotiations with Disney. He was about to sign a $100 million deal. You dropped the bag, bro. Over that. Shit does not work. Man, what's wrong with y'all, man? And these are supposed to be, leaders in the men's space, bro. In a barbershop, you listening to Shannon Sharpe almost every day.
Responded with the video saying he is going to defend himself because what's going on isn't right. And he said it's all being orchestrated by Tony Busby, who has also targeted Jay-Z. He said Tony targets black men and he expects him to release a sex tape that tries to make him look guilty. So earlier, both lawyers for Shannon Sharpe and his accuser confirmed he also offered to pay $10 million to settle the case and not disclose the allegations with the girl. Whole lot to unpack. Cam, what are your initial thoughts?
Here goes Cam.
Let me ask you a question before I give my opinion.
Here we go.
Do you think this has something to do with her being white?
Yes.
I knew it. Why?
Because
so a black girl wouldn't do this?
I'm not saying a black girl wouldn't do it, but less likely to. I think, first of all, the whole...
Hold on now. Hold on. Who was it? Wasn't there a baseball player who got wrongfully accused of rape? Baseball player wrongfully... I'm gonna let this keep playing in the meantime, but there's some cases.
Whole big black baby and me, all that, it's like, okay, if you're into that, if you like the race baiting, all that, cool. Some people like that. That's the first thing. Second thing, we all saw Shannon Sharpe might be signing a $100 million deal. Woo, 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 woo. You're an OnlyFans model and you're trying to get him with that.
We'll get back to this, but just
one of the women who accused me of sexual assault just got indicted for committing felony fraud against me.
Just in case y'all haven't seen this. One of the women who accused me of
sexual assault just got indicted for committing felony fraud against me. Imagine that. Let me catch up to speed. In the last 3 years, 2 women have taken legal action against me. Lindsay Hill started all this. You may remember her from this video as the girl who set me up and lied to the world in an attempt to take my money. Well, today, the only other one, Darcy Adana Asimonu, has been criminally indicted for committing felony fraud against me and another man. So now she's facing up to 16 years in prison. Her claims are even more absurd than Lindsay's were, so here's some of the details. We had one plain sexual encounter in December of 2020. Nothing that could be considered remotely rough. She initiated it, but don't take my word for it. Take hers. This is a picture and text message she sent me the next morning explaining why she came on to me. And for months afterwards, she repeatedly requested to sleep with me again. For example, this text from January 7th, 2021. At one point, she even requested a sample of my sperm so she could have my child whenever she wanted to in the future. Now, it's hard to keep track, but she's made at least 4
What's crazy is the accuser, Shannon Sharp's accuser, was mentioning having babies with him and stuff too.
figure demands over the last few years. More than a year after the one time we slept together, and only after Lindsay Hill made up her false allegations, Adana retained a lawyer. She then demanded $3.6 million and claimed I forced her to have an abortion, leaving her emotionally devastated and irretrievably damaged by it. But here's the thing, she never had an abortion because she was never even pregnant, and that's corroborated by her own medical records. When I refused to pay her the $3.6 million she was asking for, she made up a bogus sexual assault claim and filed a civil suit against me. In that version of her story, she claimed, for the first time by the way, that there was non-consensual sex, but her texts from the next morning show what actually happened. Remember this text in which she explains why she came on to me? She also claims that instead of an abortion, she actually had a miscarriage, but that's impossible, of course, because again, she was never even pregnant.
Trying to find a girl.
We now have emails between her and the first 2 law firms that dropped her, in which they acknowledge they never had any evidence to support her claims, but they'll try to get my money anyway. I then shared an audio recording I have in which Adana contradicts her own claims and asks me for money. In the emails, her lawyers agreed that that's insurmountable evidence, and they inform Adana that they can no longer represent her unless she can provide documentation or proof of her claims. Of course, she couldn't do that, so the law firm urged her to consult other law firms with different standards. Now, Adana has filed more than 10 police reports claiming sexual assault or harassment against other men, including at least one other professional athlete.
And now all of a sudden, $50 million. And this isn't to, discredit anybody who is, going through serious issues and like sexual assault cases. Like, hope that works out for all of you guys. But all the different terms in this, it's interesting. So yes, I think it has a lot to do with her being a white woman.
So from what I got from what you said, stay away from them white bitches. That's what you said in a real politically correct way. Yo, y'all black niggas that be fucking with these white bitches, see what happens? That's what Stat just said in a very professional. Professional way. That was really nice the way you put that, because that's all you really said. This what happened when you fuck with them white bitches. That's what you get. That's exactly what I heard from you. But look, it's a few, like you said, it's a lot of shit to unpack with this. First thing you said, $100 million, now they want 50 out of nowhere. But when you sue for 50, you don't really want 50. You take about 23, 20, 24. You go for the high number so you can settle out for what you really want. That's first and foremost. Secondly, she 20. How old? 92?
50, so I'm going to get his exact.
Thanks for the heads up. What I was saying is that this is the lady who accused Trevor Bauer of SA, and that never happened. And so now they're going after her, but I don't think anything ever happened to her. But she ruined that baseball player's career. Like, he lost everything. I don't even think he plays in the league anymore. Sad, man. That's why I don't understand why guys want to be around want to be sleeping with these women, bro, that they don't know. You don't know these women. These women are crazy. People are crazy out here. And y'all just wait. I'm gonna play another video after this just so y'all can see why I'm talking like this.
You gotta know what's going on. Not saying she don't fuck with you. Listen, I remember
56.
56. I remember Delicious from Flavor of Love wanted Unc. She was on his body too. Unc stay in shape. He popping, etc. It's a lot going on.
Damn.
Especially he has a newfound light. You know what I'm saying? What I will say is this, is that to me, for this last few years, and I'm talking about not even a few years, probably 6, 7 years now, because he started on, what is that shit with Skip he was doing? Whatever that shit was called, Undisputed, about 6, 7 years ago. So you have Undisputed. Then he has the success with Club Shay Shay. Then he has his other shows that he do on the internet. Then not only that, you leave Undisputed and go to First Take. So when I first seen Shannon on the internet arguing, going back and forth with certain people, you know, even me and him had a couple words here and there, nothing crazy. I got mad love for Uncle, super duper love for that nigga. But when I seen him going back and forth with other people, so to speak, and I said, he doesn't get it. Now he probably gets it, he's getting more seasoned. I'm talking about last year when he's arguing the sex tape, if you want to call it that, and going back, and before that was other things, people saying that he was gay, and he's going back and forth arguing with people. I'm saying, it's one thing being a successful athlete, and then it's a different thing being a successful entertainer, even though sports is entertainment. But, you know, Shannon Sharpe is a Hall of Famer, Super Bowl champion, so people know who he is. But now you're sitting there talking about people. It's one thing when you're catching the ball, scoring touchdowns. It's another thing when you're opinionated about different people. So he found a new brand of success, and I don't think he knew about it in the beginning because, you know, he used to say, my sister said, when you're at the top, this, that, and third. Yeah, nigga. That's the way it goes. People are going to want to come at you when you're successful in this realm. When you're successful in football, people can't run as fast as you or jump as high as you or catch touchdowns. It's something different to where you're being opinionated. And now that you have a smartphone, everybody has an opinion. Anybody with a smartphone can have an opinion. So when you have this newfound success, you got to know how to move, especially with the bitches. You got to know how to move, my nigga, because I'm not saying niggas don't fuck with you, but they want something. They want a couple dollars. They want $25,000 a cheek. Fuck is that? Yo, $25,000 a cheek, and you still speak to the bitch? Like you said, to me, it sounds like they had a lot of, what's the word? I don't want to use BDSM. They had a lot of like little rough relationship.
Like
when I say that,
type shit.
choke her and she like it, or grab her up and she like it. Because there's some shit I read it too, that he had anal sex and she got mad because he ain't put the condom on or some shit like that. Obviously, Shorty likes some of this shit, my personal opinion. And like Stat said, I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody going through something serious. But the first thing I took from this when I heard it was, look, he was living in California and moved to Nevada. She moved from California to Nevada too. So if somebody's being abusive to you in one state, why would you move to the next state with the same nigga who's abusing you? I don't know. Me personally, I found the red flag with that personally. And then the next thing is
nothing but red flag.
This sex tape that's supposedly coming out. Shannon said, put the whole 30 minutes out or 10 minutes, whatever it is. I guess there's some part in there for 30 seconds because Unc brought that up. Shannon brought that up. He said, I believe he's going to release 30 seconds of it. Whatever that 30 seconds is must be nasty and violent and fucked up. If you don't want to put the whole 10 minutes and you reducing it to that 30, it must have been WWE in that joint. Elbow off the top of the bed, off the thrower against the dresser. You white little bitch, come here and suck big black dick. Fuck you talking about? You want nigga dick? I get that part. I get it. Because I tell white bitches you want that nigga dick. But it's consensual. They agree. You know what I'm saying? But you know, I've been doing this in a different realm from him. I never made it as a professional athlete. I've been out here shaking and juggling these bitches since 20 years old. I know what you up to. I know when a bitch try to bait me in a text message to say some dumb shit. I ain't writing it back. You right. And I'm not writing nothing back. You can't get me to write a damn thing back when I see what's going on. You get what I'm saying? Then you gotta know. And see, that's the fucked up thing. It seemed like he trusted her from the conversation I heard. You gotta read the signs like, I don't want to get choked. That ain't something you usually say. Hold on. You don't usually talk to me like this. Why are you talking to me like this now? Yo, I'm gonna hit you back.
That lawyer got in touch
and
with
then
her.
you know when shit ain't right, you be like, when you answer the phone, they be like, hello, hello, hello. They setting up. Oh, I can hear you now. They done set the call up. You gotta read all these signs, bro. And you gotta think about this, right?
It's wild.
This is why, and a lot of people call this nigga Uncle Tom, and he don't like black people, or this, that, and the third, et cetera, et cetera. This is why Stephen A. don't get into no shit like this. And I'm gonna say none of us is above it, knock on wood, but he knows he works for Disney. When you work for Disney, a sex tape can't be coming out like this. You can't be admitting that, 30 seconds of this shit was kind of rough. I'm letting y'all know. Shit get a little wild. But didn't he 30 seconds get what? Yo, this Mickey Mouse in now. What you mean 30 seconds get wild? I think that Disney's getting a little more lenient because of shit like Pat McAfee, cursing at 12 p.m. in the afternoon. Not just that, Shannon had a little sex tape that he admitted to, nothing visual, just vocal. So I think it's a little more lenient, and I hope that Disney does keep him. I'm rooting for him because I do believe this is a shakedown. But when you start getting the video evidence and vocal evidence.
Yeah, we know what this is. We know what it is. It's just entertaining at this point, but we know what it is. We know Shannon dropped the ball. He needs God, so he don't get played like this no more. He's 56 years old. I forget. Oh, this was who was it? Tells Shannon Sharp to slow down. Who was it that said this to him? And that he needed to settle. Oh, right here.
Girl, you don't need no 26-year-old girl. You don't need no 36-year-old girl. This is your auntie talking to you. Take your ass and get your old bitch out there that can love you old.
Mo is different now.
It's different, baby. I'm grateful I'm not 56 and trying.
You tried to say that. What you trying to say? Mo?
I'm looking right at you.
I know you looking at me.
I ain't backing down. You better take your old ass and get somebody to love you.
Damn, Mo.
Now I'm looking right at y'all. Let me tell y'all what Shannon needs. Let me tell you what my baby needs. He need him.
Listen, Monique, she's definitely done some dumb shit, but she tried to save him. She tried to save him about $20 million.
Who can bake good cakes, make some smothered turkey wings, who gonna rub his feet at the nighttime to make him feel better about himself when he come home at night. That's what Shannon needs. You trying to hang out with these young bitches. You can't do it, Shannon. You just can't do it. When they want you to go for the 4th round, you looking at her like, bitch, listen, I need you want some money to go to Starbucks? Because I can't go no further. But if you get your older girl, when you get to that 4th round, she's gonna say, hold on, let me go get you some eggs and cheese and some toast with apple butter, because that's gonna get your energy back up. You don't need no 26.
Man, don't even get me started with Brittany Renner. Don't even get me started with that one. The world is cooked, bro. Right now, it's insane. Right now, it is insane. So anyway, we know what that is, bro. Like at this point, it's entertainment. At this point, Shannon Sharp is gonna lose some money, just a little bit, but he's still gonna live to keep working and build that bag back up. Jahan, I appreciate it, man. Thank you, man. That's love. Appreciate that. That's love. All right, what's next? What we got next on here? Oh, that's what I wanted to talk about next. So, with all that being said, we see what happened. I just covered that Goldface, what happened with Doge and Tesla. So pretty much, bro, Tesla, they're down 72% in their profits. In their net income, they are down 72%. And Bro is spending 4 days a week in the Oval Office, talking about going down to 2 days a week at the. Why are you at the Oval Office for 2 days a week? It's already built. You got the team there. You work one meeting a week, 30 minutes, an hour a week to maintain the job. But you got to get your ass back to Tesla and fix what's going on over there, because it's a dumpster fire over there. And that's exactly what he's doing. So we'll see how the market reacts to that tomorrow. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, Jahan, no problem, bro. Price raise checklist. Do me a favor. Are you in 6FB? If you are, could you hold that for shit? Do me a favor. Post something in school and then tag me. Oh, I don't look on DMs in Discord. DM me on school and then I got you. All right. So what I was saying is, so anyways, you watching this, and it's sad to see men who are supposed to be wise and have all the success. They're not smart, bro. And part of it is this mentality that men are sharing with one another, and it's dumb. Let me show you guys what I'm talking about. Listen to this. Listen to this real quick. And I know I keep going after Myron and them, but damn, they be giving some fucking dumb advice.
I've talked about this. I think guys have to have certain things in place, right, before they want to get into a long-term relationship. It's 5 things. So I would say $100K per year, 6 figures a year, 6 months to 1 year of savings, be in good shape.
Hateful
Let's run. Hold on, real quick.
To be liberal.
The question.
Of what you think the.
Listen to this question and then his answer.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Do you remember me at all?
No.
Okay. So can I ask a quick synopsis of what you think the prescription is for society today for men, in a short version? What do you think they should do to be successful with women?
What men should do to be successful with women. That's the question. Now listen to the answer.
Successful with women. Yeah. Okay, are we talking about like getting a girl for a long-term relationship, just to get laid? What are we talking about?
Well, I think the only reason should be for a long-term relationship and marriage. I mean, as Jesus Christ founded it. But I'm just curious what your prescription is.
Well, I've talked about this. I think guys have to have certain things in place, right, before.
And he says there's only one reason, they should be going after women. And it's funny because, men will complain about what's out in the marketplace, but we're the ones creating what's out in the marketplace, because we got the same mentality as Shannon Sharp. Have everything in the world, and if you don't put God at the center, you'll never be fulfilled. You'll always be chasing the next demon, bro, and and literally lose everything like that. We see it happen to men all the time. But listen to his answer.
Before they want to get into a long-term relationship, it's 5 things. So I would say $100K per year, 6 figures a year.
Okay.
6 months to
100K a year. That's good. 6 months
1
to
year
what?
of savings.
6. Okay.
Be in good shape.
Yeah, great.
Have at least 50 partners, right? Sexual body.
I was with him. And then he said, make sure that you desensitize yourself. For what purpose do you need to have 50 sexual partners? For what purpose?
Have at least 50 partners, right? Sexual body count.
At least.
All right. And then is that the last one?
There's about an equal amount of women and men in this country. It's about equal. Do the math. How does that math work out? Every man's supposed to have 50 sexual. Bro, what's wrong with this dude?
Last one.
And then there's one more, but that's fine. You could go ahead and engage with what I've said so far.
So the reason I asked that is I've watched almost every single podcast you ever did for about a year and a half. Asked that.
One more, but that's fine. You could go ahead and.
All right. And then is that?
He had 5, but what was the fifth one? What was the fifth?
At least 50 partners, right? Sexual body count.
All right, and then what's the
Yeah, shit's crazy. It's crazy. People agree with this. I was with them. That's why I say, the whole manosphere thing. 80% of it is good. Then you got that 20% that literally is the worst advice possible. I would rather you say, don't get to 100K. I would rather you say, don't go to the gym. This man said, 50 bodies. You wildin', bro. You tripping. It's insanity. All right, so I wanted to cover this as well because I was listening to like a podcast, and this guy was an obvious Elon Musk hater. And dude said that Elon never invented anything at Tesla. He didn't create Tesla. He just bought it. He just bought it. He didn't do anything over there. So I want to see if that's true. And I know it's not true. The reason why I know it's not true is because in a recent podcast interview he did, he talked about how, he's heard that rumor. And when he bought Tesla, they actually didn't have a single product out. See if I can find it. And here's the reason why people believe this narrative that Elon didn't create Tesla, because these are the actual Tesla founders here. And they brought on Elon, right? And they were working on the car, but they had no commercially viable product out yet. And trying to see if I can find the interview. Dang, now I wish I would have saved. So I don't have the video of him saying it, but if you look here, and I'll zoom in here so you guys can see. Wikipedia obviously isn't the greatest source, but in an interview, he definitely says, when he invested in it and became the majority shareholder of Tesla in 2004, the company essentially didn't have a single commercially available product. They probably have prototypes that made him excited about the product, about the company, but he obviously brought the money, the resources, probably the know-how of making it mass producing it. Yeah. Yeah, facts. He made it boom. So apparently, and I'm not 100% sure of this, Elon took over as the CEO because his initial investments was squandered by his partners. So he obviously needed to take over to make it as successful it is today. So made them very, very rich, obviously, as well. But yeah, man, preach. Preach. I want to see this.
A man from Detroit went from being homeless, sleeping in his car outside fancy houses in Detroit, to buying one of those houses and becoming a self-made millionaire.
And guess what? He's not stopping there. Mario Kelly was able to accomplish all of this and is still motivated for more. And Dave joins us now. How did he do this?
Yeah, it's really about the power of belief and taking opportunities. Mario Kelly embodies the saying, if you believe it, you can be it. It's something he's done again and again. And I had a chance to speak with him as he starts the newest chapter of his life, tapping into the business of AI.
How may I help you today?
Hey, Emily, I'm with Dave Spencer from Fox 2 News.
The voice on the other end of this phone call is Emily. And as real as it sounds, it is in fact artificial intelligence, the latest creation of the very real Mario Kelly.
I have something called Believe in AI. It's an academy where it's also an AI assistant with emotional intelligence. You can have a 10 to 40-minute conversation. It answers the phone for you. It makes appointments.
Mario is a self-described man of action, pouncing on every opportunity that comes his way, a trait that started back in childhood.
I wanted the Nintendo games, or I wanted to go to the arcade.
This whole AI thing, all these little businesses that are being made, it reminds me of the .com boom. And a lot of these little businesses are not going to be around. There's no real proprietary, anything of long-term IP, anything of long-term substance that's going to keep these smaller businesses alive. They're just taking ChatGPT, wrapping it up in some interface and making a business out of it and making it niche. And that works and all, but you know, people who really create this stuff, man, they're going to swallow all of these little businesses up. And these businesses are great, though, for them because they're making the market. And in the meantime, guys like this are going to make their money. Hopefully they invest it. Hopefully they save the game. I say this all the time. There's a lot of people who make a lot of money, but they don't save the game. You see it with artists. You see it with celebrities. And you don't see it with businessmen and entrepreneurs because they're not in front of the camera all the time, but it happens to them just as much, if not more. And the reason why is because, you know, with stuff like this, it's like a gold rush. You better capitalize and you better take that money and put it into assets that are going to be more stable. Because if you don't, and you go buy a nice house like they're saying that he did, you're just buying expenses. Yeah, man, those some nice glasses. What are those, Cartiers? I don't know, man.
On Woodward. My mother said,
save the game, bro. Save the game.
Go to the arcade.
After working at a Ford plant and then Jacobson's, Mario eventually found himself unemployed.
At the same time, I was still living in my van. I was homeless, had got divorced. I'm from the east side, but I had manifested that I wanted to live in an area called Rosedale Park. So I would go over there every night, find a different house to sit in front of.
He says through manifestation and a belief in himself, inspiration took hold.
I put the word Believe 313 on a rubber band, and I would go downtown and just sell rubber bands.
And one day, opportunity came knocking at one door in particular.
Police were putting a Bateman sticker on a house one day, and I rolled past it and I said, "What's going on?" They said, "We've been giving him tickets for 2 years."
He contacted the owner of that very home and offered $6,500.
He took that money, and then I just worked on the house room by room.
Other doors started to open, and Mario didn't hesitate to walk through. For instance, while touring a Shinola factory.
We walked into a room, it was filthy, it was dirty. And they were like, "Oh, I'm sorry, our cleaning company is terrible." I said, "I have a cleaning company."
He didn't exactly have a cleaning company yet, but he did have $27 worth of cleaning supplies.
They told me, "Give us a proposal." You know, I went home and tried to figure out how much it would cost to do a building of this size.
He got the job, and 313 Cleaning was born. Then came the next opportunity.
In 2021, no one wanted to go to work.
Right.
So I said, let me start Believe 313 Staffing.
Word spread of his success, which again led to new chances.
I started hiring a lot of returning citizens. And they would tell me, "Man, your story is," we talk about your story to people in jail all the time. So I said, I need to share my story.
So he did.
I'm the cleaning guy. Sure. You know, my whole journey started with cleaning. So
let's do that.
Yeah, let's show them where it started at, where the $27 started at.
That may have been where it started, but Mario Kelly has no idea where it will end, and he says that's a good place to be.
Let me know if there's anything else I can assist you with.
Thank you so much, Emily.
Now, while Mario Kelly does have a success story for sure, his story's not unique. He says anyone can copy the formula simply by believing in themselves and acting when opportunity presents itself. It's all outlined in his book. Here's the blueprint. You can get it on Amazon for $6. For MoneyWorks, I'm Dave Spencer.
You got to be a solution maker. Got to be a solution maker, y'all. You know, there's always opportunities, y'all. There's always opportunities. That 2021 thing sucked. What 2021 thing? Chris, I think your history and free streams is better and more cost effective than getting that book. Hey man, I appreciate that. It's love. Oh, when people didn't want to work? Yeah. People still don't want to work, man. Have you ever thought about venturing into private equity if you had big business idea and niche? How would you fund it? No, that comes with responsibilities and stuff, right? Like for me, I don't need bigger. I don't need to buy, a 250 unit apartment complex. We do really, really well. We say this all the time, me and Danny. Would I rather have 50% of $10 million a year or 5% of $100 million a year? It's up to you, but that comes with two totally different worlds, right? When you are in private equity, when you're a small business owner, let's say you're a small business, this is what it generally looks like. You have the owners, you have your executives or your leadership, and you have the team. And they run the business. That's it. And you have the culture that you want. You know everyone. You have Christmas dinners and you like being around the people that you work, and you can create a lifestyle business, right? And you can pay everyone nice bonuses and everybody's happy and you're not too big. Okay. When you start getting into private equity, okay, now you have the investors, you have the owners, the executives, team, right? And employees, a lot of employees, and HR, right? And culture is very difficult to build because when it's PE, it's about profits. It's all about profits. And a lot of times what it is it's getting as much debt, because we talked about how money is debt. And what we want is we want a business that's doing so well cash flow wise that we can get as much debt as possible, tax free, pay our investors, and keep maintaining this business to carry the debt service, to service the debt. That's the game you're playing in. And as the owner, you got to report to investors. Every decision you make has to go through your investors a lot of times. Any big decisions. If it's small, there's a threshold there where investors don't care. But once you get big, the big decisions, owners have, I don't want that, bro. I like this. I'm okay with 10 million a year. Happy. Peace. Team is making great money. Here, bro, when you start reporting numbers, people are going to be like, why are you paying this person this? When we know we can have somebody else take that person's job for half the salary. Fire them, replace them, or cut their pay, because that's money that could be going to the investors. You see, in this world, I can pay people whatever the hell I want to, even if it doesn't make financial sense, just because of the loyalty, just because we love the person, because they've been with us so long. We want them to be as successful as possible. We want them to grow with the business. In this scenario, they don't give a damn about this. I don't really want this the private equity thing. Now, one thing that we do as a team, right, is, we have our guys, we have our team, we have our guys. Let's see why this isn't working. Oh, there you go. Why ain't you working? Work, damn it. All right, we'll have to use this for now. So one of the things that we do is we'll just, if Jordan got some money, if Dre got some money, if Josh O.P. got some money, if Zach got some money, and those guys want to put money together, right? And we want to put money into a pie, and we want to take this money and we want to put it into some real estate or some shops or another business, we can do that. That's easy to manage. It's people I like that I would do business with. And that makes cool sense. And if this business makes $1 million a year and we split it 5 ways, I'm good with that. Everybody's happy. That's why I don't like private equity I guess is cool when you're trying to do like way bigger things. If you're the investor, private equity's a lot more fun. than if you're the business owner. I don't want private equity money. Now, I will take a bank's money because at least with a bank, I can pay a bank back. And once they're paid off, they're not my business partner anymore. You guys get what I'm saying? So like, if you have a really good business, let me show you guys what I'm talking about. If you have a really good business, you probably don't want to sell it anyways because it's such a great business. You know, let's say you got a business that's doing $5 million a year for whatever reason, $5 million a year, and you go to the bank and you say, you know, I want to do more locations, or I want to grow the business more. I need certain equipment. I need a bigger warehouse, whatever it may be. You go to the bank and say, you know, I need a $5 million loan. Well, that's not hard to do because, well, $5 million, let's say it costs, I don't know, $60,000 a month to service this debt. Okay, $60K a month. They know you're good for it because you make $5 million a year, right? But that $60K a month might add another $3 million a year to your profits, and you use this $3 million to cover that debt. The difference is, what is that, $720K, $2.3 million that you've added in revenue because you took on that debt. And then what you could do is in 2-3 years, let's say in 3 years, pay this thing off, and now you got the bank out of your deal and you have no debt, you got no business partner, and you keep 100% of this $3 million you've added to your bottom line. I don't mind partnering with banks in that sense. If you guys have been checking out my streams, you know how the financial system works. You know how the banking system works. So what about if it's a startup, a lot of capital to fund? You know, ultimately it's up to you. I would assume if you're going to do that, it's because you know what you're doing and you think you can grow it fairly quickly. But I like bootstrap. I like to bootstrap. It's going to take longer. I built big businesses without it. I don't love new innovative products on your first shot, on your first go ahead. I like creating a viable business and a good brand, and then taking the money from the business the old school way and using that to fund the innovation, because innovation is risky. And in today's day and age, even if you are innovative and even if it takes off, the first things that's going to happen is 20 factories in China are going to knock it off. They're going to throw it in Alibaba. They're going to throw it on Amazon. They're going to be able to produce it for way cheaper than you can because they didn't have to pay any money for R&D. They don't get tariff. They don't have to pay for all the certification, the molds, the toolings, the branding. They didn't make the market and educate the customers. And so when they produce theirs, it's straight profit, baby. They can literally undercut your margins, and that's usually what happens with innovative products. And so I hate that for your first product. I mean, how many times have we seen it? We saw it with the Apple Watch. Before the Apple Watch, there was a watch that was on one of those websites where they do crowdfunding. Man, that shit went out of business as soon as it launched because the iPhone came out right there. And all not the iPhone, the Apple Watches. And then the Apple Watch got pulled off of shelves because luckily another company won their lawsuit. They created some shit and they actually won their lawsuit against Apple. But you know how much money that cost them? The kind of war they had to go to be able to fight with Apple on that? Man, I don't know, man. I don't recommend doing a innovative product your first go around if it's going to be so cost intensive that you feel like you need private equity or investors. I just don't like it. I would start off with something small, especially if you don't know business. If you've already built a multi-million-dollar business, then go for it. Because you know it's a fast track there. And I'm obviously you put together a business plan, you got spreadsheets, you got projections, like you've done your due diligence. That's different. But if you don't have that in your arsenal, I would not touch innovative products for your first go around. Now, that doesn't mean you can't be innovative with something simple. Like when I first started my company, Tomb 45, the first product we had was a shave gel. And what was shave gel is shave gel. I formulated it myself the way that I liked it, the way I wanted it. I didn't want it to be too the consistencies to be too thick, like what was out there in the market. But what was innovative about it, people didn't, barber supply stores thought it was cheap looking and stupid, but barbers loved it because I at the time I think I had like 6 shops, 6 locations, and all of our barbers would take the top off their shave gel and put an applicator nozzle on it so that they can just put it directly on their clients instead of having to pump. And a lot of times they would cut their bottles open to get, probably a quarter of the shave gel left in that bottle out so they don't waste. By putting the applicator nozzle on there instead of the pump, you get almost 100% of the gel out, and it's what barbers wanted. So that was our way of innovating. The second product that we did was a straight razor. Back then, straight razors were coming out. It was like a push straight razor, and you'd break a double-sided razor blade. You'd break it in half and put a half into it, push the cartridge in, and you would shave like that. And at that time, there were some that were showing like different exposures of the razor blade. So a lot of exposure of the blade, a little bit of exposure of the blade. A lot of exposure of the blade was for detailing. A little bit of exposure was safer, more stable, better for bulk shaving. So what we did was we made a razor handle, just like everything else, but we included different cartridges that had different exposure ratings with it, with the packaging and a keychain. And that was our way of innovating a product that was already out there. So those simple changes give you a lot of experience. So when you're going to do something that's really a risk and CapEx intensive, you're more likely to succeed, right? Bro, it's a lot, man. Tech products, it's a lot. I mean, that's why everybody ain't doing it, especially in the barbering industry. It's so risky in the barbering industry because you have look, the power pods, people don't realize that we created that. Sure, was there another company that came out before us 3D printing them? Yes, they came out with it before us because they were 3D printing them. If you want to do it right, you can, and you want to go and you want quality control, you can't 3D print shit. So we had the patents a year before their product even came out. Had 3D renderings, 3D prints, had prototypes. We just weren't commercially out there yet. But behind the scenes, we were already working on that project. Guys, that was like $1 million invested into the power pods to release that product. Between hundreds of thousands in legal fees, in patent attorneys, trademarking, just so much work needed to be done. The molds, the toolings, breaking shit, changing our mind, redoing things. A couple years went by before we even had our first SKU. And that's a couple years of expenses, of employees working, of shit costs real money. And then you release the product and you don't know how people are going to respond to it. And the barbering industry is so small when it comes to those niche products. The reason why clippers do well isn't because barbers are buying a shit ton of clippers, bro. It's because the consumer buys them. What people don't realize is Andis and Wall are still the biggest. Andis, Wall, and Conair are the biggest clipper companies, not because every barbershop has them, but because every shelf in every supermarket, in every big box store has their products, and every household in America has one of their products. It's not because of the barbershops. And so here I am spending, I could have took that same $1 million and just developed a consumer grade clipper and trimmer for home use, and I would have made way more money. But I'm not doing it for the profits. I'm not doing it. I was doing it because I was so deep into the barbering industry, and I loved, bringing something new to the barbers and taking the risk. And trust me, knowing what I know today, I would tell you, don't do it. Don't do it. Go make a bunch of money first and then do your passion projects. Oh, and when it comes to, if we're talking about tech in terms of hardware, I know that, but I also know the software game. Me and Danny probably burned $500,000 on a software startup. For the barbers. Bad idea. It was a bad idea. It was a bad idea. I would have put that $500,000 into something else. I would have put it into Bitcoin and made more money. All right. Hopefully that helps you. Good questions, though. Good questions. I love the conversations. Love the conversation. Man, software engineers, good ones that can actually build a good software, they're gonna charge you $200,000 a year, and they want equity. And trust me, if you go cheap with software engineers, you're gonna get shit work. And if you try to go to an agency, you're gonna get shit work with them too. No, I didn't want to do any white labels. We never did white labels because that just wasn't us. We wanted to bring innovation to the table. And we thought barbers would support that more, but barbers don't care. They will buy whatever. They will buy whatever has either enough marketing behind it, or they'll buy whatever is cheap. So you're going to have barbers either buy Hattori Hanzo's, or they're going to buy $25 shears from the local beauty supply store. That's what you're getting. The best product is probably the Misutanis or the Hikari shears, but they don't have the marketing that Hanzo has, and they're not cheap like the cheap shears you get from the local beauty supply store. That's what you get from barbers. If you want to make a bunch of money, you got to do either of those. A shit ton of marketing, or cheap as hell. Like with the 245 clay, I literally seeked out the best clay formulation, the best formulation I could find, and it was expensive. Probably the most expensive clay out of all of the options that I had, and I chose that one because I just wanted to bring quality to the table. But barbers don't care. They want what's hyped and what's cheap as hell. And the thing is that they cry so much about prices, but then they cry about their clients when they complain about prices. You can't win with these people, man. I love y'all, man. I love barbers, but damn, man. All right. Oh, speaking of debt, how I was telling you guys about private equity and how they use debt to get wealthy, and they just suck the souls out of companies because they're using their cash flow to get to service as much debt as possible so that they can pay themselves tax-free. Check this out. Let's see if they cover this in this video here. And this seems like a simple video that might simplify the explanation a bit. Let's check it out.
Know that rich people use debt to get richer? You might think debt is a bad thing, but in the world of the wealthy, it's actually a powerful tool. Sounds crazy, right? First, let's understand what debt is. Debt is when you borrow money. Our parents often say that borrowing money is always bad, but it's not the case for billionaires. Why? Because there are two types of debt. There is good debt, which is when you borrow money to buy things that make you more money. Imagine taking out a loan to buy a rental property that pays you rent every month. And there is bad debt, which is when you borrow money for things that don't make you any money, like using a credit card to buy the latest smartphone.
That's what a lot
It's
of y'all
cool,
do.
but it doesn't help your bank
Don't
account
do it.
grow. Simply put, wealthy people use good debt to buy things that can earn them more money. Instead of using their own money, they borrow money and invest it in assets like real estate, stocks, or businesses to generate income and make a profit. They ensure that their monthly income from these investments is higher than their loan repayments, allowing them to earn extra money without using their own funds. Also, rich people really don't like paying a lot in taxes. As debt doesn't count as income, and because you still have to pay interest on debt, it isn't taxed, making it less burdensome. This is a form of tax avoidance that is legal and allows them to reduce their tax.
Now, I do want to say this because there's this common misconception that rich people don't like to pay taxes. It's not that they don't like to pay taxes. These people are educated and they know that our country was never built on, it was never supposed to have heavy taxation. I mean, shit, we went into wars and broke away from Great Britain because of heavy taxation. And for the history of our country, it's not been around that long, but we only had federal income taxes during war. And when we weren't in war, there was no federal income taxes. Our government stayed small enough to not have all the corruption and fraud and useless spending that we have now, but they stayed small enough where it wasn't a heavy burden to fund it. And so they're like, look, I'm going to hire the best accountants. I'm going to study tax law and I'm going to pay my fair share. Where Americans who don't study this shit, they're getting taxed and they want rich people who pay attention to this stuff to be ignorant and pay as much taxes as them. And the reason why I say this is because the math doesn't math. Okay? They're not trying to avoid taxing. They just don't want to pay more than they should pay in taxes. And this is why I say that. Let's look up the data. What percentage of federal income tax revenues are paid by Americans wealthy? Let's see what this says, and I'll pull it up on my screen in just a bit. Look at this. Look at this. I'm going to zoom in here. Top 1% of earners, those making roughly $682,000 or more per year, which I fit in there. This is why I'm speaking about this, because I know I pay a shit ton in taxes. It's like, damn, y'all want me to pay more? If I didn't pay that much in taxes, I'd be hiring people. I'd be opening more barbershops, creating more jobs, more schools. It's not like I'm out here buying Lamborghinis and shit. But look at this. Top 1% of income earners paid 45% of all federal income taxes. The top 5% and up paid 65. The top 10% paid 76. The top 50 paid 98%. And it's the bottom 50% of income earners that don't pay no taxes that want us to pay more taxes. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. And when Kamala Harris was asked if regular people, let's say it's people who were poor, who came here for the American dream, and they got to, $100,000 to $600,000 a year. Are you raising their taxes too? she said she wouldn't answer the question. She just kept talking about billionaires. She was avoiding the question because she wanted to raise taxes. This is what, like, but we're led to believe by media and what people try to, bro, it's BS. And the only reason why I knew about this is because I'm in the top 1% of earners, and I'm like, whoa, what are they talking about? I mean, I'm not trying to avoid paying taxes, but I don't want to pay more. Like, shit, man. And this doesn't include the property taxes that I pay, the sales taxes that I pay, FICA, employee taxes. Guys, this is just federal income taxes. And depending on what state you live in, you also pay state taxes. Guys, how much more taxes we want to pay? And if you're new to my channel and you're thinking, what's this barber talking about? Why is he talking about this stuff? I own an accounting firm. We have 24 employees, over 300 clients. And so I know a little bit about this stuff. It's what led me to start paying attention to politics more. You know? All right, let's go back to that video.
It's important to note that tax avoidance is legal and different from tax evasion and fraud, which are illegal practices. I will explain this further in the next video. So, how does this good debt really work? The first one is the real estate strategy. Rich people love real estate, especially these rich dudes. They use something called a mortgage, which is a big loan to buy houses. Take Robert Kiyosaki, for instance. He buys a house with a mortgage and rents it out. If the house costs $200,000, he might take a $200,000 mortgage at 5% interest per year, with a monthly repayment of $1,350. Then, he rents out the house for $1,500 per month. The tenant will pay the rent, indirectly covers his mortgage payment, and he still makes a $150 profit each month. Once the mortgage is paid off, he gets...
No, he don't. That $150, he better keep that shit in a bank account for this property, because when this tenant moves out, a lot of times, the security deposit ain't gonna cover the damage. Number one. Number two, something's gonna happen with this house. Maintenance happens, soffits start falling apart, sprinkler systems break, pool breaks, water heater breaks, AC unit has issues. Yeah, but you know what? I'm okay with breaking even, and hopefully this video tells you why.
Gets the full...
I'm okay with losing a couple $100 a month from one of my investment properties. Hopefully this video explains why.
$1,500 per month as profit, all without spending a penny of his own money. As the house value rises, he earns even more. The second one is the investment strategy. A rich person borrows money at a 7%.
Okay, he didn't. So the reason why I say I'm okay with losing a couple $100 a month on a house is because I make a lot of money, okay? But when you buy this house, okay, and let's say you're losing, I don't know, $200 a month after the tenant pays their rent and all of that, right? And you hit it on the head, E-Blends. But it's also, you know, you're getting appreciation. And on average, you know, depending on where you live, what city, if it's a growing city, you're probably getting 5% appreciation. During the pandemic, these damn houses were going up 25% a year for like 3 years straight. It was crazy. But typically, long term, you can probably would be happy with 5% appreciation, okay? But you also have your tenant paying down the loan. So you're also building equity through debt pay down, okay? So that's a plus and that's a plus. So in the long term, let's say you came out of your pocket over the course of 10 years, you know, $24,000, okay? But in the course of 10 years, you have $200,000 in equity built into this house between appreciation and debt pay down, right? So long term, as long as you can service this debt because you make a lot of money from your other endeavors, it's a good deal. But here's the kicker. We talked about appreciation. The next one is depreciation, okay? Which you can write off a house over the course of 27 and a half years, I think it is, okay? And so whatever the house, the building is worth, divide that by 27 and a half, you can write that off and that'll offset your income. So let's say that that equates to $10,000 a year, which means if you make 100 grand a year, you subtract this 10K and now you only pay taxes on 90. So it saves you money, okay, on taxes. But if your spouse qualifies as a real estate professional, or this is a short-term rental and it is active income because you're working in this business, you can write off what's called bonus depreciation. And the reason why I follow politics is because they are constantly putting new tax laws out. And one of them is reinstating what they call accelerated depreciation. I know this is getting really nerdy, but essentially, to make it easy math, imagine you own a building worth $300,000, and in the first year, you can write off 20% of it. That's 60 grand in your first year. If you make $100,000 a year, you only pay taxes on 40K. That would save you 10 grand in taxes. So yeah, I'm okay with spending this money because of the holistic approach. And this is why with real estate, wealthy people will tell you, hey man, make sure you're buying long-term. Make sure you're buying for long-term, okay? Hopefully that helps with that part of the video. Let's continue it. Now, this is, what was this part? Investing. So I'm assuming it's gonna be like stocks. Let's see.
The second one is the investment strategy. A rich person borrows money at a 7% interest rate and invests it where he can get a 15% return. For example, if he borrows $100,000 at 7% interest, he pays $7,000 in interest per year. If his investments can give a 15% return on that $100,000, he earns $15,000. After deducting the $7,000 interest payment, he makes an $8,000 profit. Even after taxes and fees, he still makes money. The third one is the buy, borrow, die strategy.
Yeah.
Sounds dramatic, right? Here's the deal. Step 1. A rich person wants to make money, so he buys $100,000 in assets that go up in value, like stocks or real estate. Step 2. Instead of selling those assets when he needs money, which would mean paying taxes, he borrows $20,000 from banks using his assets as a guarantee. This allows him to get cash without selling his assets and paying.
So this answers your questions, eBlends. Assets you can use as collateral. So I took a $2 million loan from the SBA to buy a commercial property. And I used my home equity as collateral to secure that loan, to secure that funding. So it actually benefits you to invest, to buy assets when you're trying to secure funding, as long as it's a good deal, as long as it's profitable. If it's an expense, you got an issue. But if it's profitable and there's equity, it's an asset, that helps you. Same thing with buying stocks, same thing with businesses, having inventory in businesses. All of those things are considered assets, and it can help you secure funding.
Paying taxes because borrowing money is not taxed. Step 3. Let's say the $100,000 worth of assets grows to $150,000, resulting in a $50,000 gain. When the rich person passes away, his son inherits these $150,000 assets. Thanks to tax rules, his son doesn't have to pay taxes on the $50,000 increase that occurred during his father's lifetime. This means he avoids paying taxes on the $50,000 gain. If his son later wants to sell these assets when their value has increased to $160,000, he only needs to pay taxes on the $10,000 increase in value since he inherited them. It's like getting a free...
And by the way, Kamala Harris and who's the crazy old man who's a socialist? Forget his name. Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders. You know, they wanted to do a death tax. The problem with this death tax is a regular Joe Schmo will die with $1 million in their 401k. Just a regular Joe Schmo. So, you know, imagine someone who does good for himself. They've been a firefighter their whole life, a plumber their whole life, and they've been putting into their 401k. And 50 years later, they have $3 million in their 401k. They die, and their kids inherit that money. These aren't rich people. This is middle class people. Okay? This isn't somebody who was balling out. This is someone who accumulated this money and was living off the interest during retirement, like you're supposed to do, like the American dream teaches you to do. But what they wanted to do was put a 40% death tax on all of your assets just because you died and you're leaving it to your family. Make that make sense. This is how you keep the poor middle class. Because they're making it so much more difficult for someone to create generational wealth. Where people who are already rich, what are they going to do? They're going to move their money overseas. They're going to have all the money possible to create all the loopholes they need to get their money out and avoid this. It would be the poor middle class that got affected by that the most. That's the way I saw it. I was like, oh, this is scary because people don't even know what they're trying to put into play here. Because most people don't even know that they pay a bunch of money in taxes.
A free pass in Monopoly. The fourth one is the leveraged buyout strategy. Here's how this works. Step 1. Rich person finds a company that has potential for improvement. Step 2. He borrows a large amount of money to buy the company. This is called a leveraged buyout. Step 3. He works to make the company more profitable. The profits generated by the company are used to repay the loan. Step 4. Once the company is improved and the loan is repaid, he sells it for a higher price than he paid. This is how he makes a profit. You might wonder, why do rich people take on...
So I want you guys to, that last play, I want you guys to listen to that. That's not a rich person play. I've been telling people in my mentorship, in the six-figure barber mentorship, I've been telling barbers that this is available to them. Like, this is part of why you want to this is part of why you want to become bankable. And this is why behind your chair you should be treating it like a business. And then open a barbershop so you can run a business and learn marketing that's scalable. And I'll tell you why. Because the moment you're making a high, let's say Jordan, for those of you guys who know Jordan, he makes, the kid is just turned 24 years old. His last tax return, he made $220,000 cutting hair. He just opened a barbershop this year, so he'll make even more money. And he owns a duplex, okay? He could probably go to the bank and get a decent loan. And so let me show you what I mean by that. Imagine you can go to the bank and you found a business that you liked, right? Let me show you what I mean. Maybe your wife likes it. Maybe you have a relative or a close friend you want to do business with, and you see this sushi restaurant for sale, okay? They want $900,000. It makes $1.9 million a year, but the cash flow, which is the profit, right? This is obviously before your loan, your debt service, and before taxes, but that's $370,000. So a loan for 900K, let's say you go to the SBA and you qualify for a $900,000 loan. It doesn't take a lot. Somebody like Jordan can get approved for this loan. And so his debt on that 900K, let's say, is, just for easy math, $10,000 a month. Just for easy math. Let's say that's how much the debt service is. That's going to be his payment. Okay. That's for his payments. Well, if he does nothing with this business, he has $371,000 in cash flow. So if it's $10K a month, that's $120,000 a year. Okay. The business makes $370,000. He still clears $240,000 a month in profit if he bought this business. Now, 9 times out of 10, these numbers are wrong. They're fluffing them. They're making them look better. But let's say this number is wrong by half. That's still $100,000 a month. Okay. Can you improve the business? You might go see this business and you might say, bro, they're not doing any marketing. Man, we can put better menu items here. The service could be better. I'm going to come in here and lead this company to do $4 million. Okay. You pay off the loan. You got a freaking well-oiled machine of a business and you sell it for $6 million. You don't need private equity to do that. And that's what I mean. I'm okay with running plays like this and just be happy. Have peace. I don't want an office building and in a sky rise in downtown Tampa with a suit and tie, constantly being bombarded with phone calls and meetings. And I don't want that shit, bro. I'm Gucci. People to report to. I'm good with plays like this, create jobs. We're going to hire a general manager for this location, pay them a great salary. Everybody's going to be happy. It's a win-win-win. Great restaurant for the community. Win-win-win. But most people will never even learn how to get qualified for a loan to buy that business. And even if they did, they wouldn't know how to run that business because you're not trying to learn the shit or experience it. Like, if you a barber, run your shit like a business so that you can become the person who can do a deal like this. And this is a simple deal. This is a simple deal. Like, at some point, you might want to do way bigger deals. You might want to do something like this. Let me see. Let me find something even better. Come on, man. I could do a deal like this. I got to see the business, but 1.2 million IG followers. They're asking for $4 million. It does $5 million in gross revenues, 1.7 in EBITDA or cash flow. You know, even if you cut that in half, I can work with this. And I know paid ads. I got to see what they're doing, but I would want to see what they're doing as far as marketing, what sales channels they're already in, because we know Amazon, we know eBay, we know how to get it on Walmart and in Target. We have relationships with distributors that this might work out with. So I might be the perfect person to add value to this company. But most of you guys won't get in the rooms, won't network with the right people, won't build relationships, all of this stuff that's necessary to see something like that and be like, that's a slam. That's an easy one for me. I already have the relationship with Bank of Tampa. Their whole SBA department loves me. We've done business in the past. Yo, Bank of Tampa, look at this deal. What do you guys think? Yeah, let's go check it out. They will go look at the inventory. They will go talk to the owners because it's their money on the line. But all people want to talk about is drop shipping. and wholesaling houses and scamming. You guys are capable, more than capable, of doing service to your community, of creating jobs, of creating products and services that are valuable to society and make a shit ton of money doing it. And it's stable and it feels good. But what do we spend our time doing instead? For you pages that are just brain rotting you. All right, we got to finish this video.
On debt when they could use their own money. Well, as I mentioned before, they don't have to pay taxes on debt. Plus, they don't have to use their personal money to make more money. It's like accessing free money. But using debt isn't all fun and games. There are risks. If the value of the house goes down or the business isn't performing well, they can lose money and struggle to repay the loan. That's why rich people spread their investments around and make sure they understand the loans they take. In a real-life example, one of the most famous cases is Elon Musk. Yeah, this guy is one of the world's wealthiest people, yet he has very little cash. Business experts always say not to let your money just sit in a bank account, but to invest it to make more. Elon Musk really takes that seriously. Most of his wealth is in stocks of his companies like Tesla and SpaceX, not in cash. In fact, he even admitted that he took a loan from a bank to cover his daily needs. So, you might wonder, why doesn't Elon Musk just sell his stocks and get cash? Like I said, Elon Musk wants his money to keep working. Selling his stocks means no more income for him, and he would lose control of his companies. If you want me to make other videos explaining
it's a lot more complex than people think, you know. And debt is new money. Why he's creating new money by taking on debt. E-blends. This is a great. I've always done research, but I've always tried putting myself in a seller's position. I always think, why are they selling? But I feel it's the wrong mindset to have, being pessimistic. You know what it is people want lump sums. They want lump sums of money. You know, think about it. If I have a business that does $500,000 a year and I can get $5 million for it, I just saved myself 10 years. And I'm ready to do the next thing. They're not in love with the business. They didn't create a lifestyle business. They are in love with the next project. But for me, that's changed. And I have recently gone to acquisitions.com, their headquarters. For those of you guys who know who Alex Hermosi is, that's his workshop. That's his headquarters. And, you know, one of the things that they say is you're going to be one of two different owners. You're going to be one that builds the perfect company that you can sell for maximum multipliers, right? And depending on what industry is, you might be able to sell something for 5x. That's more of a, let's say, your typical industries, right? Something, I don't know, not finance, but let's say like a blue collar thing. I don't know, a plumbing business. Okay. Let's say you can sell it for 5x EBITDA, which is cash flow, right? Earnings before taxes, depreciation, appreciation, something like that, and interest. 5x, whatever that is. So if your cash flow is $500K, you could sell this company for $2.5 million. You saved yourself 5 years. Okay. But if you're like a SaaS company, software as a service company, you might be able to do 10 to 15x. That's why a lot of people went running to SaaS. Because if you have a SaaS company that does $1 million a year in EBITDA, shit, you could sell it for 10 to $15 million. And so they cash out and then they start their new project. But at least now they went from starting out bootstrapped, like I was telling you, E-Blends, start out bootstrapped. Okay. They went from starting out there to their next project. Shit, this guy made $10 million, right? He can take half of that and start his new company with $5 million and still have 5 million because he saved the game. That's what it is, right? But if you've already created your dream company and you've built it to become a business that's healthy and is sellable, and you love that business, then just keep it. And that's what I've done. I have a portfolio of a few companies that I like. I don't plan on selling them. I plan on making them even better, having a better culture, a great team, making them, creating more opportunities for our executives, for our employees. And I'm happy. I'm what's the word that I'm looking for? I'm content in a healthy way, in a humble way, because I appreciate where I'm at today, and I'm okay with keeping my businesses. So hopefully that makes sense. That was a fun conversation there. We went into some money topics here. What is this? All right, this is interesting. This guy got pissed off at Anton Daniels, apparently. So let's hear what he got to say. Because I was talking heavy on tariffs myself, and I was getting a lot of comments, man, from people who sound like they know what the hell they talking about, but it just sounds good. And none of them are really actually importing and exporting stuff and dealing with this shit. It's not really affecting them yet. So let's hear it, because this guy, he made a whole video on Anton Daniels. By the way, Anton inspired me to do these live streams, and I learned from him how to do these live streams and then chop it up and all of that, right? I've been watching him for a long time, and he's killing it. So he inspired me to do all this. And so seeing this guy want to dog Anton for his opinion on tariffs and stuff let's see what he has to say.
Components to your phone and electronics from China, right? But apparently he didn't get rid of the other tariffs that he put on China for some of their other products, right? So China gets pissed off and decides that they're going to come to the American consumer direct. And so what they proceed to do is they proceed to throw a lot of luxury name brands that we've all grown to love, like Lululemon, Fila, Under Armour. I don't know if Fila and Under Armour are luxury, but you also can think of other names like Gucci and Prada and this, that, and the other, right? This, that, and the third. And apparently, what they're telling people is that all those items that people used to joke about being knocked off from China, apparently they actually are knockoffs from China. And what China does is they send these products to these luxury brands where they end up putting on their made in the USA and their tags right here in America. But what you're buying for tons and tons of money each and every year is actually knockoff products from China.
Which we all know that's a hoax, right? We know it's smart Chinese factories getting direct orders and leveraging this. We know that, right? Like, we know that there aren't 1,000 factories making products for the same brands that sell limited supply products at premium prices, brands that have 50, 60 factories in France. What are they, just shells? Now, I'm not saying that they don't have products that are made, that are outsourced. They don't have components. They don't have clasps and little metal, like intricate pieces. Maybe. But do I think that they're making this stuff and just putting their tag on it when it reaches France? I don't think so. I think logistically that would be stupid, and I think it's illegal. by the luxury brands. They wouldn't be able to say made in France. So hopefully we know that by now.
To give you an example, a $100 pair of leggings from Lululemon, you can actually buy that direct from the same manufacturer that's actually supplying Lululemon for, get this, $5 or $6.
Okay, the Lululemon thing, that might be true, but it ain't $5 or $6. I've sourced high quality gym attire, stuff like that. It's still, some of this shit is pricey still, because there's no way of getting around those materials and double stitchings, and there's just extra shit that costs extra. Now, will they sell you a version of it that has a little bit less material of something, a little bit less of a stitching and certain cuts? Sure. And it's going to be comparable, but it's not going to be the same.
Is that nuts or what? Now, the reason I thought about this video today, or the way it kind of came up on my radar screen, was I was watching one of my favorite YouTubers, Anton Daniels. And he actually likes to buy expensive Nikes, expensive Gucci, Prada, right? A whole bunch of different articles of clothing that nobody in their right mind would purchase for the prices that they sell for. And he was actually bringing up,
I hate that mentality, bro. Like, no offense to this guy. I'm looking at your neighborhood, and dude, you live a modest lifestyle. That's good for you, but everybody's different. Some people like to eat out at fine dining, and there's people who would say fine dining shouldn't exist. A steak should never cost more than $40. There's people who talk like that, but thank God this is America, bro. And you have your, I'm sure you have hobbies and things that you spend that Anton would look at you and be like, why are you spending that much money on that stupid shit? Could be golfing, could be fishing, right? Anton likes fashion. That's what he splurges his money on. Some people like to gamble. There's people that have no business in the damn casino, and they there every day.
bringing up the idea that he thinks China,
to say nobody in their right mind would buy this stuff. Listen, in America, people are in line in front of Louis Vuitton stores. In lines. It's insane. I don't get it either. Especially in certain tax brackets. But Anton, he can afford this stuff and forget he spent the money on it.
China is lying, that they're just trying to say this to get around the tariffs. And he could very well be right. I'm sure if you were to ask some of the luxury brands out there, they can probably point to a couple different factories they have outside of China, right? They probably have factories everywhere, but I'd be willing to bet that they probably do have a couple nestled away in China where they're probably making a lot of their products in bulk.
Sure.
But then again, who knows?
And it doesn't
matter. The reason
matter.
It's funny is Anton Daniels is constantly trying to show people how successful he's been in life by some of the toys that he purchases. His people in his comments.
And this is why people truly buy the stuff. Because if people didn't care about brand and the marketing behind it and what that brand means, if they didn't care about it, we'd be at Walmart buying Walmart shoes. Shaq's would be the number one, the best selling shoe all over the place, even though they sell a lot, don't get me wrong. But where I went to school, you got picked on for rocking them Shaqs. I didn't see a lot of people wearing them. Saw a lot more, even poor kids, I saw a lot more rocking Jordans than I saw Shaqs. And maybe I'm wrong here, but people buy things based on the story, what it says. In America, you can buy American-made, Birkin bag quality, handmade bags on Etsy, at festivals, direct to their websites. $1,200 bags, $1,500 bags, and they're Birkin bags, like they're Birkin bag qualities. Nobody buys them because they don't say Birkin bag. So even if you go direct to China, you buy their bag for $1,400, Why didn't you just buy the one in America that somebody, that some artist, you know, is making himself or herself in America? You ain't buying them because of the damn brand. People don't care if it's made in freaking North Korea. They don't care. They care about the brand. And they don't care if it was made for $5. They care about the brand, the exclusivity. The most profitable car, I think, right now is Ferrari. People ain't pissed off that Ferrari's got 1,000% markup all of a sudden. And trust me, China got fake Ferraris. They got fake Rolls Royces. They got fake everything. I don't see people in line for those cars all over the world because people don't want them. And I'm not talking about America. Obviously, you know, they can't send those cars over here. But I'm just talking about anywhere they can sell them. They ain't all over the place. All right.
Comments that watch his videos were basically saying, oh my God, you are trying to cope because everybody and their brother knows that Anton Daniels is probably the most guilty of buying a lot of these products for his own personal use, not necessarily to resell or make money off of.
Yeah.
But imagine, if you will, spending thousands of dollars on a bag. Meanwhile, the person down the street gets that same bag as a cheap knockoff for, let's say, $20 instead of $1,000. And you're the fool spending $1,000. That is embarrassing. And it led me to one belief that I think we should examine as venters. Do you guys remember when those smash and grabs were occurring? And occasionally there would be a brave employee,
I remember this,
that would try to stop thieves from stealing clothing from these different department stores. And remember how we actually as a people got upset because these very department stores with these really brave employees.
You're not going to say now that it didn't matter because these brands were taking advantage of consumers. You're not going to go there, are you? Nah, you slow, bro. You slow. Please tell me you're not going there.
Instead of them exalting those employees and telling everybody what a great person they were, they actually ended up firing them under the guise that they didn't want something to happen, and therefore the only protocol was to let the bad guys take the property, take the merchandise. Some of us, myself included, got very upset by that. It's like, hey, they're trying their darndest to protect the integrity of your store by not letting bad guys come in and steal all the inventory.
I thought the reason why was because you weren't allowed to stop them. You would get in trouble for stopping them. Am I tripping? Am I tripping, chat? Chat, am I tripping? Let me keep playing it.
Inventory. You guys remember this, right? Tell me you remember this down below by putting a number 1 in the comments, right? So check this out. What if we come to find out that the reason stores like Lululemon threatened to fire employees if they tried stopping thieves was not just because they didn't want them to lose their life, but because if they did lose their life, people would have dug into the fact that they were losing their life not for some knockoff, that Lululemon, people would have dug into the fact that they were losing their life not for some $100 garment of material, but for some $6 knockoff that Lululemon's putting their name on and selling for $100. In other words, if you know your products are garbage, of course you're not going to want somebody to lose their life protecting your trash. Now, am I saying that's what's happened? No, not at all. It's just, you know, you and I walk together. I like to think about these things because no one else in the world is mentioning this. What if all these luxury brand companies are firing employees that try to stop shoplifters? Because if one of those employees lost their lives, it would open up a can of worms, and you would all find out what we're finding out today. That they have been basically serving as a middleman, buying junk for dirt cheap in China and selling it to us for hundreds and in some cases thousands of dollars. That is not.
So the real reason why was, which is true, it's because of lawsuits. If an employee got hurt trying to stop a thief, or a thief got hurt, the company would face lawsuits. We know that's true. And we've seen people get millions in damages based on some of these things, right? So that's part of why they were letting these people go. The other reason why was California was given misdemeanors. Places like California, places like New York, they were giving these people misdemeanors, literally slaps on the wrist. It's just not worth it. So the local and state weren't doing anything about it. These thieves didn't care because what's the worst that can happen to me? A little slap on the wrist? Nobody gave a damn. And now you got these retailers with everything to lose and nothing to gain by stopping these thieves because the state and local government isn't supporting them. That's why Walmart left Chicago. Don't y'all remember? So no, this guy is out of his mind.
Nuts. They brought up the fact that like a $38,000 Gucci or Prada purse or bag can actually be purchased directly from China for less than $1,000. The next time you go to eBay and try to buy Nike shoes, you'll notice they have an authenticity guarantee. What is that? That's where your shoes, before they get delivered to you, they actually go to another place where they get checked for their authenticity. You might say, this is good. If I'm gonna buy a $100 pair of Nike Air Jordans, I wanna make sure that I'm buying the actual thing. But what we don't question is, if we're not able to tell the difference without that product going to a guru or an expert, then why do we spend full price for something we should be spending a fourth of the price on? Here's another question I have for you. These Apple iPhones that everybody's in love with, right? You've heard this expression a lot over the past week or two.
Don't do it, bro.
That if those things were sold and made here in America, that instead of spending $1,100 or $1,200 a year on one, you would be spending closer to $3,500, right? How many times have you heard iPhone would cost you $3,500 over the last month? You guys have heard that 100 times, right? What they don't tell you is, why does it cost $1,500 in the first place? If it's made in a place like China, in these factories where they don't pay anybody anything, why the hell is that phone $1,500?
That's funny. Nah, see, that's another thing. Either China is paying their people well. Look, these same people who are saying that these factories are making these luxury brands products, these same people are also saying China is killing America. Their cities are nicer. They're doing it right. They're doing it better. The people there are happy. And now, but in the same sentence, you're saying that they're not paying these people livable wages, that these people are practically slaves. They're getting paid nothing, that America is taking advantage of the Chinese people. Which one is it, bro? I can tell you, as somebody who manufactures in China and America, we manufacture in Florida and in California. The difference a lot of times is not necessarily just in how much you're saving based on hourly wages. Sure, you're saving money, but That's not where you're saving a lot of money. It's not. Believe me, it's not. Where you're saving a lot of money is the currency exchange, because China manipulates the hell out of their currency, makes it impossible for other countries to compete. If your country operates on the US dollar, it's going to make it really hard for other countries to compete, just because of the currency exchange. You add that on top of what hourly wages are out there, but even more so, it's scalability. They have so many factories, so many skilled workers and engineers and tooling engineers and mold engineers and so many amazing skilled workers that can do it at the level and at the scalability. Think about how many iPhones are made, guys, and the quality control on all of those iPhones, and to do it as fast as they do it. To be able to do that in America, you're talking about real infrastructure, overhaul. It's insane. It's insane. And Apple's still responsible for how many jobs in America? Let's see. Let's see how many jobs in America. 80,000 plus. Listen to this. Apple's responsible for 80,000 plus people that work directly for the corporation, between corporate roles, retail roles, and operations. Listen to this. The App Store is responsible for over 1.5 million jobs. I don't know about you, but we don't really need them iPhones made here, guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't need that extreme overhaul infrastructure. Like, what Apple's going to have to do to replace what they already have built in China, they're looking at it like, bro, you're killing me, Trump. But this guy thinks it's corporate greed. I don't know, man. It's just way more complex than this, dude.
The truth is, we're getting ripped off already. That phone should be $400 or $500. If it were made here in America, it's not like you make one phone painstakingly at a time, like it's some internal watch.
This guy, bro.
From a watchmaker, it's probably coming off an assembly line, and I'd be willing to bet that dozens, if not hundreds, are being made every single minute of the day.
I gotta tell you, bro, innovating is one of the most underappreciated things you can be. E-Blends, people just don't appreciate quality in innovation, bro. This beautiful piece of hardware, as thin as it is, as powerful it is, as much as we use it, as important as it is, should only be $400 or $500. I want to know what you spend $400 or $500 on, because I know most of it ain't as important as an iPhone is.
Even if that's
with the branding, with the marketing, with the
made in America,
people don't appreciate shit.
It should still not cost $1,600 or $1,700.
People
so
don't
the only way
shit.
that phone would cost $3,500 if it were made here is if people were foolish enough to spend that much money.
No.
And
how are you going to? You got to build the factories. You got to bring in the robots, the automations. You got to train thousands of factory workers and engineers to do completely different jobs than what your engineers do now. This guy is crazy. I got to see the comment section.
By the way, that's why that phone costs $1,500 or $1,600 every year, because some of us are foolish enough to spend that. God damn it. I think we've finally broken this shell. I think we've cracked this nut. This Chinese move is just to show us as Americans that it's not them that's ruining the world. It's our greedy business owners, your favorite influencer that's selling his own vitamins or his own this, that, and the other. He's just going to Chinese distributors, buying shit for dirt cheap and selling it to you for the top dollar. It's crazy, but it's true. We've all been getting scammed forever. I love this.
So what do you want to do? What would you rather do? Let's close all the retail stores. Let's close all of them. And let's just buy direct from China. Let's just do that. We'll save a bunch of money, right? We'll have a whole bunch of homeless people on the street, but at least your iPhone will be $400. Fucking dumb.
This topic, because it really does open up a can of worms.
Like, marketing costs money. To get your eyeballs in front of a product that you would have never known existed, that costs money. To get it over here into a distribution center, into a warehouse, to get it on shelves in different stores, all of that shipping, all of the logistics. By the way, those logistics and the shipping companies, all that, provide millions of jobs. Yes, our economy is paying for that, and we're part of that economy. There's more costs, more expenses to a product than the components and the people putting them together. I just can't believe how entitled and surface level so many Americans are.
I really want us to imagine.
And they think that they're punching up. They think they're attacking rich billionaires and corporate people. But no, dude, no. If you don't like it, why don't you create the business that does everything the right way? It sounds like you could corner the market, but you won't. Only thing you'll do is go direct to China and help out their economy. Makes no
Somebody
sense.
trying to stop a shoplifter in one of these Lululemon stores. The shoplifter / thief / criminal ends up taking that person's life. Now,
well, E-Blends, we know. I've been on this shit researching like crazy because a lot of this stuff I didn't know either. But apparently, look, I was pissed off about all these jobs being shipped out. And I get it. You know, like I understand it destroyed cities. But it wasn't just our government outsourcing jobs. It was automation and robotics that was taking a lot of jobs as well. It was a combination of all of the changes. Number one, you know, service, tech, innovation, software engineering. Those type of jobs were taking over a lot of what these companies were doing anyways. They were more important. And a lot of these companies like Apple and Google, you don't even need a degree. Tesla, you don't even need a degree. They'll teach you this stuff. They have their own schools to teach you this stuff. So they could take a factory worker and make them in software, something in their company without having a degree. And so, you know, you're responsible for 1 million jobs like Apple is, and unemployment is at an all-time low. Why are we going after these manual factory jobs again? And even when they bring these new factories in, they're going to be using robotics and automation for most of the work. And so the cheap labor thing, I don't know. I don't know if that's a real argument. I don't know how that looks, you know, on a P&L, but it's a lot more complex than the way that so many Americans who are so surface level are making this seem to be. And it's because they never built no shit themselves. They never took a risk. They never created jobs. They never created nothing.
There's an investigation.
Shit, I just showed you guys most Americans don't pay taxes. I just showed y'all that.
You start to realize, oh my God, Lululemon, they're buying their garments for $5, selling them for hundreds of dollars. That makes people want to steal their stuff. Somebody loses their life. No wonder you're firing people if they try to stop thieves. It's not because you're some honorable business. It's because you don't want the truth to be revealed.
That's what this...
If I were you and you're a Lululemon fan...
Look, I don't know. I think look, maybe I live in a different world, but I think most people knew the markups are crazy with luxury brands. I thought most people knew. I thought most people knew you were paying for the branding. Okay. But apparently not, right? But for this guy to say that these retail stores were okay with thieves stealing from them and they were letting go of their employees who tried to stop them because they didn't want the secret of how much they're paying for their products to come out. That's what out of all the reasons out there, the lawsuits, the local and state governments not regulating like they should. That's what you got, bro. That's what you think it is. This motherfucker.
Man, I would make a promise to yourself never to spend one more dollar.
All right, I can't listen to this guy anymore. I just want to look at the comment sections. Oh, look at Anton. He said, Happy Easter. He was coming off as a narcissist. This just confirms it. Talking shit about Anton. What? My issue with Anton is much of what he talks about is not well researched. Okay. He has an elitist mindset. See what I'm saying? There you go. We got a smart person. People spend $9 for average coffee at Starbucks. Branding is what people buy. It's true, man. Look at this. Personal attacks. This is uncalled for. They some stupid ass video with dumb points, and people are questioning this man's faith. And they just talking all kinds of shit about Anton. It's crazy. It's crazy. I guess we all see things differently then. I took that video a whole different way. We'll see when I drop this video if anybody watches it, what kind of opinions we'll get. But look, at the end of the day, you're entitled to your opinion. I don't think the name calling and personal attacks are warranted, but hey, people, it's America. It's America, baby. Do your thing. All right. I got one more topic we can look at. Let's make it a good one. I did hear Elon always talks about micronuclear reactors. My thing is, can you all right, let's watch this. Let's watch this and let's see if it's something that should be on the radar. This could be, the next Tesla, if anybody's actually leading in this cause. But we might be 10 years early, 20 years early, who knows?
This is supposed to be the next big hope for nuclear energy. It promises to fix all the problems with traditional nuclear power, making it
cheaper, faster, and easier to build.
Smaller, safer, modular units.
A game changer for nuclear going forward.
It's called a small modular reactor, and over the past few decades, more than 80 startups and projects have been working on this futuristic vision. But there's one big problem. So far, only one has actually been built.
There are reasons why small modular reactors are not being built, even though many people are talking about them.
Nuclear power is in the spotlight again, as the world rushes to find clean energy alternatives. SMRs could be a really useful tool for doing things that big nuclear plants can't do yet. And they have a leg up from renewables because they could provide constant power everywhere. But after decades of nuclear decline, Western countries are really struggling to make this technology work. And developing countries like China, Russia, and India seem to be pulling ahead fast. So, do SMRs deserve all this hype? And how can we actually make them happen? Nuclear power is a very divisive topic, with a lot of strong arguments for and against the technology. It's a powerful low-carbon alternative to fossil fuels, and unlike renewables like solar and wind, which fluctuate based on the weather, nuclear has a consistent output. The IEA, an international body that advises governments on the transition to clean energy, says nuclear has to more than double by 2050 if we want any chance at reaching net zero. The problem with nuclear is that it's really big and expensive, takes too long to build, and could cause civilization-ending disaster.
In the 70s and leading up to the 80s, there was high public support.
Dr. Kuhika Gupta researches public support for nuclear energy in the United States and India.
That momentum really crashed through the 80s and 90s with the Chernobyl 3 Mile Island incidents that happened.
We made a video on the rise and fall of nuclear energy as a tool to fight climate change, which you can watch here. Nuclear energy really struggled to bounce back from those big disasters. And when the Fukushima nuclear accident happened in 2011, the industry's credibility took another massive hit. But things are starting to look up again.
Public support has maybe started trickling back to pre-Fukushima levels, and support is even higher for small modular or other type of advanced reactor technologies.
That might be because a lot of these SMRs have some very flashy advertising.
Westinghouse AP300 small
Westinghouse.
modular reactor.
Their Voyager SMR power plants.
While there are lots of different SMRs being developed, there's currently 4 main types, each using a different coolant to manage the extreme heat of a nuclear fission reaction. They are light water, high temperature gas, liquid metal, and molten salt SMRs. The most common type, though, is light water reactors. They're very similar to traditional nuclear power plants, which are almost all water-cooled. That makes them much easier to design and get approved, as today's nuclear regulations are mostly based on water-cooled reactors. So for light water reactors, the idea is to take a big traditional nuclear power plant, shrink it down, and mass produce it.
It would work very much like airliners.
Dr. Adam Stein is an engineer, researcher, and consultant who focuses on nuclear energy.
Instead of how we've typically built most nuclear power plants in the past, which is completely from scratch, usually mostly at the power plant site. If you think of a large jumbo jet, it's built in a factory in a consistent manner with the same parts every time, with rigorous quality control.
Dr. Stein says making it in a factory means you can keep the same specialized workforce, the same supply chain, and the same standards, and just ship the already made power plant to wherever it needs to go. These small plants would have a much smaller output than a full-size nuclear reactor. Most definitions of SMRs put them anywhere up to 300 megawatts, which means today's average full-size nuclear reactors output more than triple the biggest SMRs. But in exchange, they take up very little space. Nuclear already uses the least amount of land amongst low-carbon energy sources by far, and SMRs could take that to the next level. NuScale, one of the biggest SMR developers, claims that this power plant, the Voyager 12, would take up 0.13 square kilometers of land, but could output the equivalent of 18.6 square kilometers of solar panels. So that could get nuclear power online in more places much faster. But what about the risk of nuclear accidents? Well, SMRs have an answer for that too, and it's called passive safety. In nearly all of today's nuclear power plants, the biggest safety task is keeping the core of the reactor cool enough if the plant suddenly shuts down and stops making power.
Remember
If the
NuScale.
coolant stops circulating for long enough, the fuel will get too hot and melt down. That creates the risk of leaking radioactive material into the surrounding area if all the material doesn't stay contained in the core. That's what happened at the Fukushima Daiichi plant in 2011, after an earthquake triggered a safety shutdown. The plant automatically switched to its backup generators to keep the coolant circulating through pumps, but an hour later, a massive tsunami triggered by the earthquake wiped out the plant's backup systems, and 3 reactors melted down. So to avoid this type of scenario, many newer generation power plants use passive and self-contained safety systems that don't rely on human operators or external power. This approach is seen as safer than previous models, and many SMR safety designs claim to be completely passively cooled without the need for any external water either. To do that, they would use a natural force called convection, which is basically the same thing that happens in a kettle. When liquids and gases get hot, they rise to the top, and when they cool, they sink to the bottom, creating a loop. To take advantage of convection, these SMRs have a series of chambers that can allow for passive circulation of water. The reactor core is placed inside a larger shell, which is submerged in water in a containment structure underground. In an emergency, the nuclear reaction which generates heat would shut down, and the reactor would close itself off, not letting anything in or out. So to get rid of the remaining heat inside the core, convection comes in. As the water inside the core heats up, it rises to the top, turns into steam, and gets pushed out into the larger shell, which is kept cool from the water it's submerged in. That steam hits the larger shell, condenses back into water, and pools at the bottom, ready to flow back into the reactor and continue the cycle. In theory, that cycle can just keep going until the reactor cools down enough to no longer be a threat. But while there's a lot of hype around these innovative designs, the likelihood of SMRs ever actually working out depends a lot on how you look at them. Are they like any other type of energy source, standing on their own feet and making a profit in the free market? Or are they a strategic asset that governments can use to fill the gaps while they phase out of fossil fuels, even if they lose money building them? Analysts say that first way is the approach in the US and EU, and so far, it hasn't worked out too well.
It was just too expensive.
That's Dr. Friederike Fries, a physicist and nuclear energy researcher. She says that despite a surge of SMR startups and projects in the US and Europe over the past decade, small nuclear has run into the same problems as big nuclear, with heavy regulations, project delays, and cost blowouts. And because it's smaller, it also makes less money.
SMRs lose the economy of scale in energy production. Like the smaller the output, the less revenue you can make. So you have to have really tailored applications. This is a really, really small market.
When you add to that rising inflation and the increasing costs of essential materials to make these plants, like steel, you get a recipe for financial meltdown. That happened last November to NuScale, one of the first and most promising SMR startups, and the only one with US regulatory approval. After decades of planning, the company cancelled its first ever deployment of reactors in Idaho. NuScale says the project, called the CFPP, faced unique challenges and ended due to a lack of subscriptions. But many analysts say increasing costs played a big part.
NuScale was supposed to be built in the United States, which is a long history in nuclear power plants. It has the biggest civil nuclear fleet, and still it did not work out. There was like support from the government, support from the regulatory authority, and still it did not work out. It was just too expensive. The price tag was like per kilowatt hour, I think in the end about 4 times than what they usually have at conventional nuclear power plants right now.
NuScale's president says the company is continuing with its other domestic and international customers to bring American SMRs to market, including a project to replace a decommissioned coal plant in Romania with a Voiga SMR plant. But NuScale is an example of how tough it is for private companies and startups in the West to get small modular reactors going. So what about that second approach, looking at SMRs as a strategic national investment that might not necessarily make a lot of money? That's the approach taken by countries like China and Russia, where SMR projects are almost entirely state-run, operated by national companies like China's CNNC and Russia's Rosatom.
In the past, countries that were able to build nuclear power successfully and have those be successful industrial investments were ones that were able to control their costs by avoiding unnecessary regulatory burdens, and then also control revenue by allowing them to make sure they could compete effectively on the downstream, that they could sell into a market and be assured of a reasonable rate of return for selling power.
That's David Fishman, an economics and policy analyst who specializes in China's energy sector.
Countries like China right now, they do a great job controlling costs upstream, and they do an excellent job ensuring revenue for the power sales downstream.
That's because even if you have a great design for an SMR, experts say quite a few different steps have to come together to make it all happen. There's the materials needed to build the facility, which all have to be certified as nuclear safe. Then there's the workforce to build the plant, and the workforce to operate it. Then there's getting the fuel needed to run the reactor. So rather than all of these steps being done by different private companies who all need to make a profit, countries like China and Russia package up all of these steps and sell them as a bundle.
It's not just the technology you're getting, it's also coming with the entire supply chain solution. It's coming with the low interest loans that are provided by the exporting companies' banks, right? Maybe the Import-Export Bank of China is giving a big low interest loan, something like that. And for the current environment, it feels like that's just much more competitive.
And Fishman says that approach has allowed SMR projects in China to keep moving, even when they run into challenges. In 2019, China's National Nuclear Corporation began work on a 125 megawatt SMR project on Hainan Island. Called Linglong 1, it's scheduled to be finished by the end of 2026, which would make it the first commercial land-based SMR in the world. And that strategic national investment approach could also make some SMRs that have really niche uses more likely to work out too, like high-temperature gas-cooled or molten salt reactors, which are currently some of the only alternatives to coal for industrial processes that need a lot of heat, like making food, cement, or chemicals. We made a video on molten salt reactors and thorium, which you can watch here. So that's the end of the story, right? State-run projects are the solution that will finally get SMRs happening, and soon there'll be hundreds of reactors being built and shipped all over the world. Not quite. There are still a lot of questions hanging over SMRs that need to be answered before the dream of factory-built nuclear can come true. The world's energy needs are increasing rapidly, and we're still a long way away from net zero emissions. So while SMRs do have their uses, some experts say countries that decide to invest more in nuclear are more likely to need bigger, not smaller plants.
China is going to do better than everybody else, and it's still only going to have this kind of impact on the decarbonization journey and on the offsetting of coal journey.
And while public opinion on nuclear is improving, the idea of having thousands of small nuclear plants all over the world raises concerns for some about how all that waste is going to be managed. Some SMR designs have closed fuel cycles that could theoretically last up to 30 years, but the science is still out on that, and some studies have shown SMRs using more, not less nuclear fuel overall. Still, many advocates point out that we're probably going to need nuclear for a lot longer than 2050, or whenever we manage to reach net zero. The world's population and energy needs are going to keep rising, and the strategy of using nuclear alongside renewables looks like it's here to stay. So what do you think of these small nuclear reactors? Let us know in the comments and subscribe to our channel. We release new videos for you every
I was doing some quick research here. Oh shit, my camera's all, it's crazy right now. There we go. My bad, y'all. My bad. No, I'm good now. Not on mute. Can you guys hear me now? All right. So I was doing some quick research, and I just wanted to see what public companies were in the SMR field. I want to kind of look at their financials. So NewScale was talked about a lot, and their tickers small micro. I think okay, yeah, we're good. Revenue is 37 million, which is not a lot. They lost $350 million. So they're not making any money. This is attributed largely to non-cash expense related to warranty liabilities and foreign income taxes associated with a contract in Romania. Their cash position is they have $446 million in cash. Short-term investments bolstered 227 for more exercise. Okay. Strategy, transitioning from research and development focused organization to commercial. Okay, so they want to start building. Prioritizing revenue generating projects, notably the 6-module SMR plant in Romania. So Romania is kind of this company's guinea pig, it looks like. And I want to see what exactly. So this is what they want to commercialize. It's this nuclear reactor. This micro nuclear reactor. It's small. It's this one apparently. Okay. Implementing cost efficiency measures to reduce operating expenses and focus on, so it's expensive. They got to make it more efficient. So that's not a good investment whatsoever. I would not be investing in this unless you just got money to burn. You know, $1,000 can turn to $100,000 in 10 years or something with something like this. But then you have this one, BWX Technologies. 2.7 billion in revenue. Wow. Their net income, 281 million. They are profitable. Their EBITDA is $500 million. Their strategy is expanding in both government and commercial nuclear sectors, including microreactor development for defense and space applications, investing in advanced technologies in nuclear medicine, to diversify revenue streams, focusing on operational excellence. Oh, how is this company making money? They're making a lot of it. They're getting a lot of love. You got Oklo, BWX Technologies. This is one to look at. I mean, it's already a profitable business. Like to listen to some of the earnings calls. Cameco Corporation, they did $3 billion in revenues. Their net income was 170. Their EBITDA is over what? California did a $483 million investment in Westinghouse from its investment in Westinghouse. No, not California. What the fuck is CA? I don't know. Scaling up tier 1 uranium production to meet increasing. Okay, so they do uranium production, leveraging in its investment in Westinghouse to expand its footprint in the SMR market. Okay, so they do uranium production, but they're getting into the SMR market through their investment in Westinghouse. We did see Westinghouse in that little documentary we just watched. Maintaining a disciplined financial approach while positioning for sustainable growth by the evolving nuclear energy landscape. I like the sound of that. Cameco's another one I'd put on the list. Okay. So you have your direct investments. There's a pure play on SMR, small modular reactors. You have BWX, which is focused on nuclear components, including microreactors for defense. We saw this is already a profitable business. Cameco is a major uranium supplier, now also is getting exposure into SMRs, via becoming a part owner of Westinghouse, which is a private company. I'm feeling Cameco. I'm liking Cameco. They got a diverse stream of income. You have Oklo, but these are pre-IPO. These are not public yet. And then you have indirect exposure via ETFs. So URA, you can get exposure to Cameco, Next Gen, Uranium Energy Group or Corp. This one focuses on uranium miners and producers. Okay. You have this one, NLR. You have ICLN. You have CNRG. You have what eBlends talked about. This one, URNM. So here's a strategy tip by ChatGPT. Less risk through the ETFs. Individual stocks offer high risk reward potential, especially NewScale and Oklo. So NewScale we know is definitely that play. What's NewScale? What's NewScale trading at? This is the type of company that they get one commercialized product and the stock is going to go insane. Let's look at their price right now. This is not investment advice, by the way. So I mean, you know, they're at $15 right now. They're put $1,000 in here. Forget about it. If you can burn $1,000 and you really believe in this, you've done your research and you really believe in this, you know? Oh wow. I didn't realize Sam Altman was with Oklo. I mean, it's a promising industry for sure. It's just way before. And there's opportunity costs, right? Like, would you do NVIDIA or this? Would you put $1,000 in NVIDIA or $1,000 in this? Would you put $100,000 into NVIDIA or this? Would you put $100,000 into Tesla or this? I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying there's opportunity costs. That's why investing is so much more difficult. Individuals, yeah. So uranium-focused ETFs give fuel supply chain exposure, but not direct SMR tech. Utilities are safer, but slower movers. Want help narrowing down basic tolerance goals? Okay, cool. I think that's enough for me, man. Thanks for sharing that. That was fun. Learned something new tonight. Learned a few new things tonight. And if you guys were on the stream, then you got shit to talk about tomorrow. If you have a social life. All right, y'all. I will see you guys on the next stream, probably tomorrow. Holla at y'all.